up, Shadowhunters, angels and downloaders alike, and welcome to my first episode of First Thoughts for Shadowhunters Season 2. The idea of First Thoughts is that I give my vague first thoughts on each episode that happens every week, and then my second series, Fair and Unbiased, is where I explore spoiler territory and go into deeper detail. So this is basically like a general gist of what my opinion was on Episode 1, This Guilty Blood. This is going to sound really weird because I thought the episode was really good, I loved it, but my literal first thought was negative. And it's so weird to think about because this episode was amazing, I loved it, it surpassed the first episode of Season 1 by miles, but literally the first thought that I had when I was watching it on Tuesday morning was, what? For one reason mainly, and it's a very small thing in the grand scheme of things now, but when Jace is on the boat and he starts fighting, there's techno music, and I was like, what? I was like, techno music for a fight scene? And I was like, this is so awkward, it doesn't fit. But I was sitting going, oh my god, this is going to be awful, they've probably changed everything, there's going to be techno music, they're going to try and get in with the kids, this is it, this is like all ruined. And I jumped the gun, I really did, but I was really panicked because I had been waiting for this and I was just like, oh my god, they're playing techno music, this is not good. Thankfully, I was wrong, and once that was past, it was a lot better. Like, they didn't play that much techno music. I think there was a bit of a sort of music thing going on near the end when they were fighting the vampires, but it wasn't as noticeable as it was at the very start. And I thought it was kind of ironic that I loved this episode so much, but the first actual thought that I had was, what? No! Not the techno music! But as I say, I loved the episode, so thankfully the first thought that I actually had was one of the very few negative things I actually have to say. So, no more techno music please, I didn't think that fit very well. But let's talk about the things I actually loved, because there was a lot more of things I actually loved than things I actually hated. I actually mentioned in my trailer review back in November, I think it was November or October time, that it was obvious from the start that they had gotten a bigger budget because everything was so much grander and so much bigger and everything was so much better quality, and it particularly shone once we got to see the whole episode. The Seraph blades are a lot better, they actually look like blades instead of like those sticks you used to get that made the bears glow in the dark. I actually think I still have one of mine lying around, and I used it for a cosplay once. And they were like made of plastic and white, and they looked exactly like the old Seraph blades, so I actually like these new ones better because they actually look like they could do some damage. And I like the way the runes or the markings on them kind of light up whenever Shadowhunters use them, instead of the whole thing just going light like a lightsaber. When someone is stabbed with one of these blades, they explode, like in the first season, except it's a lot better. Like, they explode into like, it's almost like glitter. I know Magnus would love it. It's like red glitter, and it's a lot better than the big gold explosion. It was just like, that back then was like, why are they exploding into gold? But now it's just like, it's almost like they made it into glitter, but they made it red, so it's almost like blood, but they're not making it blood so that they can just slip under the mature rating, which I think was very clever of them. So it's just like, oh yeah, it's red, but it's glitter, it's alright, don't worry about it. It's fine. So yes, they definitely got a bigger budget, which I'm really happy for, because something that put people off in Season 1 was how kind of amateur everything kind of looked, which I think is a common thing with new shows that start up. They start off with a small budget, but then as they get popular they build up their budgets to prove to the network that they are actually going to bring in some money. So I'm glad that Shadowhunters is getting more money to do more with, and I know the new showrunners are actually showing that they're actually doing something with it. Like, they're not just throwing it away on, I don't know, Magnus's new shoes or something. They're actually putting it to work into the effects, the props, even the sets look better in the angles. It's a lot more darker, which matches the dark kind of theme of the show now, because everything's getting darker, which I'll discuss more in the Fair and Unbiased. So I thought that was great, it was fantastically done. And in where Season 1, Episode 1 was making everyone go, oh my god, like, no, they've ruined it, it's like the movie all over again. Season 2, Episode 1 is getting everyone hyped. We're all like, yes, give us more, we want more of this is brilliant. And I just love that everyone's getting hyped up. More people are joining in because they're seeing this show and going like, this is amazing. Why haven't I known about this before? And it's just like, because season 1 started off in a rocky patch, it was hard to get into it. But season 2, episode 1 is starting off strong, and hopefully it's going to keep that strong thing going. So it's just going to keep getting stronger, and I believe that it will. I believe in the new showrunners, I believe in the actors, I believe in the stories that are being written. I believe that everyone who's involved in the show is working to the best of their ability to do what they can to make the show the best it can be, and that is brilliant, and it's making me so excited and so much hype. You can see the love that's being put into this show, and it's just amazing, and I can't wait for more. So let's talk a bit about my thoughts on what actually happened. Again, I can't talk a lot about what happened, that'd be more unfair and unbiased, but I can discuss a few things vaguely, so we'll do that. And then in fair and unbiased, I'll talk more in detail on these things. So I'll talk about Mr Aldertree taking over the Institute, because we saw that in the clips that were released with the trailer at NYCC Comic Con. So Mr Aldertree takes over from Lydia, and he becomes the head of the Institute in episode 1. We don't know if Mr Aldertree is going to be good or bad or indifferent, and it's so hard to tell, because it's understandable why he took over from Lydia. I love Lydia, don't get me wrong, I think she's amazing, but the Mortal Cup was lost when she was in charge. Hodge got it and he left, so you can't blame the Clave. I hate the Clave, by the way, but you need to see it from their perspective too. The cup was like taken under Lydia. It was taken from Lydia's hands, which it wasn't her fault, but it does seem a bit fishy, and they maybe want to get like someone stronger. We don't know yet. I'm not a fan of Victor yet, but I don't exactly hate him either. It's one of those things where you're kind of neutral yet. I don't like to judge characters before I actually see what their motives are, and so far Victor's motive basically just seems to be I'm doing my job, which can be understandable. You can't really hate him for doing his job. You can hate the people who he works for, but you can't hate someone for doing their job. So I'm not going to judge a book before I read the cover, or read the book, I mean. Who the fuck reads a cover? All our favourite characters are back. Each of the main cast make an appearance in episode 1. Clary, Jace, Alex, Simon, Isabel, Luke, even Jocelyn's back. Magnus is there. It's all, we get to see everyone that we love, and we get to see all our characters interact, and it's very almost bittersweet, because we've missed them for so long, and then we can finally get to see them again. But it's kind of hard because they're hurting as well, so you're just like, oh, I'm so glad to see you back, but you're hurting at the same time, and I don't know how to make it better. It's just like the Give Izzy a Hug movement on Tumblr last year, except it's just give them all hugs. Give all the cast hugs. Help them, they're in pain. So it was great to see them all back, but it was also hard to see them all in pain. They're all suffering because Jace is gone, and it's hard because the Clave are basically going like, well, we will find him, but he's with Valentine now, you know, our enemies, so how does that look? We're not exactly sure what we're going to do with him when we find him, which makes it kind of like a race against the Clave, because Clary, Alec and Isabel and all want to find Jace before the Clave do now. And it's all very complicated now, because Izzy and Jace and all are working against the people that they were raised to think were good, and who they were raised to believe were the ones who knew what was going on. But now it seems to be that they're having to go against them, because they're starting to see the cracks in the infrastructure of the laws that they were raised to follow. We saw this a bit with Alec last year, when he was conflicted on whether to follow Lydia's orders to give Meliorn to the City of Bones, and Jason, Clary and Isabel fought against him. But now it seems to be that all of them are just like, we don't know what to do now, they're all going against us, I don't know, these were the people I was raised to follow, and now I have to go against them. They're obviously wrong and they won't listen to us. And it's very interesting to see, because it's like you're raised to believe that something is right, and then you realise that maybe they're not. That's very damaging, especially for someone like Alec and Isabel, who are like, they've been raised this way, this is what they know, and now they're being told, no, they mightn't be what you think they are. And I'm very excited to see how that's going to progress more, because they're not going to be like Maris and Robert. They're not going to take it lying down, especially since it concerns their parvati and their brother. And it's just going to be really good to see more of that sibling dynamic. I'm not so fussed on Clary being like, oh, I know what you feel like, I understand too, he's my brother. Like, yeah, okay, but you don't know them the same way they do, Clary. I'm sorry. You're fine as a character, I guess, but you can't pretend that you know exactly what they're going through. And I get that people like Clary, but you have to admit she does not know what they're going through. It doesn't excuse what Alec got on like in episode 1. I'll be discussing that in Fair and Unbiased. I don't condone or like how Alec behaved in episode 1, but because he apologised, I think it can be forgiven. But again, this is something I'll discuss more in depth in Fair and Unbiased. I'm so excited that we got to see more of Luke, and I love his friendship dynamic with Simon. It's like the ultimate bro TP. Isabel and Clary bro TP, what's that? Clary and Alec bro TP, what is that? I don't know what that is. I'm here for Luke and Simon. I flippin' love them together. I love their dynamic. I think they're great. And I hope Jocelyn kind of lightens up a little bit, because I get she was shocked when she saw that Simon was a vampire, but the way she'd flinched back on him, you'd think he was flipping radioactive, and it was just kind of like, okay, Jocelyn, that was kind of rude. But as I say, I am here for Luke and Simon. I think they are fantastic together, and I hope we get to see more of their interactions. The things I'll be discussing in Fair and Unbiased run along the lines of the problems I have with Clary as a character, the Malik scenes, the Malik dynamic, a couple of the problems I had with the episode, because I promised when I did my first episode in Fair and Unbiased that I would be exactly that, fair and unbiased, so I have to discuss the things that are a little bit about the episode. I still think the positives outweigh the negatives. I can't wait for more of this. I can't wait for the series to keep going, and I can't wait to see where they're heading with the plot. But yeah, I have to discuss a couple of problems because I have to be fair and unbiased. So if I don't reference the negative things, then I wouldn't be fair and unbiased. So sadly, that must be discussed. So I'll see yous in Fair and Unbiased then. I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will post Fair and Unbiased the day after First Thoughts goes up. So I'll see yous then, Shadowhunters, Angels and Downworlders alike. Enjoyed this review video? If you want, you can check out my other videos just here. Just leave them there if you want to just have a look. I do crack videos, music videos. I have a news segment for Shadowhunters for any time episodes aren't airing. If you want to check any of that out, if you're a fellow Shadowhunters fan like me, this could be your fix if you like. So do check it out if you want to, and like, comments and subscribe if you want to see more.